classified as a fourth felony offender. Offenses: simple burglary, Schedule 2, simple burglary, theft $500 or more, simple burglary, forgery, theft, simple burglary, unauthorized use of an access card, simple burglary, forgery, and simple burglary. Sentencing dates are August 15, 2011, December 19, 2011, and March 12, 2012. Sentenced to a total of 15 years. Parole date, April 16, 2015. Good time, September 29, 2025. Full term, July 16, 2026. Is this information correct?
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you. Mr. Marabella.
Thank you very much. Ms. Mayo, my name is Tony Marabella. Your case was assigned to me, so I'll be the first person to question you today, okay? Ms.
Okay.
Mayo, how old are you, ma'am?
I'm 48,
Okay, and how long have you been in prison on these charges?
almost 11 years now. In July.
And you are currently serving a 15-year sentence, is that correct?
Yes, sir.
How many times have you been in prison prior to this 11 years?
Well, I had my first conviction was probation, and then I had 2 more, which were, I was imprisoned, and then this time. The first couple of times, so I might have done a year or 2, which obviously was not enough. It's very different this time.
Tell me a little bit about your educational background.
While I was in prison? Well,
At all, period.
Okay.
Go ahead, I'm sorry.
Okay, I grew up in Catholic schools, and my parents gave me every opportunity to have a good life. So what I did was nobody's fault but my own. But after being incarcerated for a while, and I realized if I was ever going to be successful out there, I needed to gain something to make that happen. If I just went back out there with no high school diploma, with no education, no college degree, what could I do? So after I really thought about that and I really put my mind to it, I got a high set, which is the GED.
When did you get your high set?
In 2020.
Okay.
And then my instructor asked me if I would be a tutor for him, because I really, I put everything into my education. And so I did the necessary courses. I became a tutor for high set. And I have my tutor evaluation, should be in your paperwork.
Okay.
Then I went on to Ashland. I'm in Ashland University. I'm 1 class away from my associate's degree. So I'll be taking that this semester along with 3 other classes. 3 of them will go towards my bachelor's. I'm going to continue that education when I get home. I've already talked to my site director. She told me all about the paperwork and everything we need to do for that.
Let's talk a little bit about drugs
and
and
I made the
alcohol.
dean's list too.
I did get that. I got the note in there from the secretary commending you on that. So congratulations on
Thank
that.
you.
You are doing
It's a
well.
good feeling.
Let's talk a little bit about drugs and alcohol.
Yes, sir.
Tell me about your use.
I became an addict about 27 years old, and it progressively got worse and worse. I've tried rehabs. It didn't work.
When you say you're an addict, is it alcohol, drugs, both?
Drugs.
Okay, and what drugs particularly?
It started with pain pills and ended in crystal meth, and I've even done cocaine. I know now that I have to be 100% dedicated to my sobriety, and I'm willing to do anything to maintain my sobriety. I've learned what it feels like to be sober now for a long enough time that I've been able to deal with who I am and what I've done. And that wasn't easy to do, but I have come to terms with all that. And
tell me how you've come to grips with your sobriety.
What
courses have you taken? What things have you taken? And what have you learned that has assisted you in hopefully maintaining your sobriety for the rest of your life?
Okay, well, I took living in balance, substance abuse. I took it for a change, which that class actually made me realize I needed to stop blaming everybody else for my problems, because that's what I was doing for a long time. And I felt like as long as I blamed other people, it wouldn't hurt so much that I did what I did, and it was everyone else's fault that I was in prison. I mean, I felt sorry for myself. And I realized I had to stop that. But in order to stop feeling sorry for myself and get better, I had to really, really come to terms with what I've done to these people. I stole from them. I invaded them. I'll never know how that truly affected them, because I'm sure they have no trust for anyone, and it was wrong. They worked hard for their money, and I had no right to do that.
So tell me, what would be your plan when you get out to maintain your sobriety?
Well, I have the phone. I've been going to NA and AA classes here, and I've gotten a phone number from the ladies who come on Saturdays, and they come like once a month on a Saturday, and they're from the area, and I'm going to Prairieville, so I got their phone numbers, and I'm going to get in touch with them, get a sponsor. They recommend 90 meetings in 90 days when I initially get home, and that is what I'll do. And like I said, I will do anything to maintain my sobriety. I really
Tell me about the 12 steps.
Well, the first step, of course, admitting, which I know I did that a long time ago. The second step was kind of rough for me. And then the self-inventory, that's what really was hard. That was really hard to know what I did my family and my victims. I didn't just mess up my life. I messed up a lot of people's, and I'm so sorry. But these steps are helping me get through it without relapsing. It's teaching me how to live and deal with problems. It's teaching me how to stay sober. And it's teaching me how to be proud of who I am now and stop focusing on the mistakes I've made in the past.
Now, I've looked at your record, and I was very impressed to see what you have accomplished, especially in the last year or so. You've taken a lot of classes and a lot of programs. Now, you talk about life, living in balance and thinking for a change, changing your life.
Yeah.
You took those in 2014. Yet from 2014 until last year, your disciplinary history was horrible. Tell me about that.
I know. Well, actually, those classes I did take in the beginning, and that I did start to realize what I needed to do, but I was still rejecting reality and the severity of my situation. It just was too hard. I thought it was too hard to deal with. When I got my high set and I saw that I was really worth something and that I could be something again, and then I became a tutor, and the feeling of helping other people was just such a good feeling. And that was in 2020 that I got my last disciplinary report. And once I got my high set and got in school and I saw what I could do and I put my mind to it and made the dean's list, I made my mind up. And I just took not long ago, Life's Healing Choices, and these groups have really, really helped me. I learned that I can't, my disciplinary records mostly acting impulsively, running off at the mouth, and I know I can't do that. My last report, I had the coronavirus. It was the first strand that came out, and I was sick. I had it, and a lady in our dorm had just died like 3 days before that. I started running like a high fever. I could feel it. And so I went out the door to ask the nurse to see me, but I guess they were scared too. It was a scary thing at first. So they yelled at me and I was scared and I just started screaming back. But I know I can't do that. I know I can't do that. It's not the way things.
Well, let's talk about that, because in 2019, you had at least 5, maybe 6 write-ups for aggravated disobedience. What is that about? And how have you been able to deal with that? Tell me how you've changed.
Well,
What was the aggravated disobedience? What were you doing?
I was pretty much not doing what they told me to do. I would get upset and start cursing, or just, I guess you would say, freak out, and But I was in the middle of coming to grips too with everything that was going on in my life at that time. And it was like I would get upset so easy. And but I did anger management, which is another thing that it taught me how to, deal with my thoughts. It taught me how to not just act so impulsively.
Well, talk to me about Cage Your Rage. How was that? You took that since your last disciplinary action. Tell me about that.
And that
How did
helped
that
me.
help you?
It helped me to stop, getting so upset and so angry so quick, because it doesn't help the situation. Just like my last report, screaming and hollering did not get me help any sooner. All it did was hurt me, but I realize all that now. But they taught us different mechanisms to, in different ways to process thoughts, and before you speak and before you say things you're going to regret, because I always regret it after, stop and think about what you're going to say. They taught us a lot of stuff about that.
About problem solving and decision making. You've taken that since then.
Yeah. Well, the Life's Healing Choices, we just did a lot of problem solving and decision making in that class as well.
Of all of the programs that you've taken since your last disciplinary write-up, and it's been a bunch of them, which has been the best one for you? What do you think has helped you the most?
I think Cage Your Rage. I don't know. It's between that and the Life's Healing Choices, because Life's Healing Choices was faith-based, and it helped me find my relationship with God again, and it helped me in other ways too. But the Cage Your Rage, like, things I was doing wasn't violent towards anyone, but it was not right. The screaming, hollering, speaking impulsively, and I had to learn how to deal with that. And it really, really helped. Obviously, I didn't get any more reports, and I started to slow down. And I really feel confident that I will do everything that I can to be successful. And I know I will be, because I'm very determined and I'm very dedicated to my college degree. I'm very determined.
When you were arrested 11 years ago, or when you came to prison 11 years ago, was drugs involved in some of these crimes?
Absolutely. Absolutely. It was involved in all of them, really. I was on drugs really bad. I gave up on life at that time. And I was not thinking of anyone but how I was going to get my next high. And I didn't stop to think how I was hurting everybody around me. Like I said, I felt sorry for myself. I blamed everybody else. And when I finally took, responsibility for my life and realized that my life was what it was because I did it and no one else, I was able to change then.
Tell me about your plan. If, assuming you're able to get out anytime soon, where are you going to be living?
I'm going to live with my parents in Prairieville.
In Prairieville?
Yes.
Okay. And what kind of work are you going to be doing?
My mom has a business, So Sweet Alterations, and it's a real business. It's a corporation. She's going to let me work with her. So I know I must have earned some trust back for that. And so I definitely have a job to go straight to. And like I said, I'm going to continue my education. So, that'll be an ideal job for a while I do that. And she was hoping eventually that I could just take over it. So
there's very little you can do about what I'm about to tell you, but you do have law enforcement opposition. Nobody in law enforcement wants to see you back on the streets. What would you say to them as to who you are today as compared to the person that they put in jail 11 years ago?
I can't ask anybody to believe me or trust me because I ruined that a long time ago. But I can ask you for a chance just to show that I am being very sincere. I'm not the same person I was. The person I am now would never do anything to hurt anybody. And I wasn't the type of person before drugs to hurt anybody. But I know my main problem is drugs and that I cannot go back out there. And I needed all these years. I needed these years. If I would have given a shorter sentence, I'm just grateful that I got the time that I did because I learned how to also take a negative situation and turn it to positive in everything that I do. Just like my sentence, I used to look at it as this huge punishment, but I learned to take that and flip it around to make it an opportunity. I got a free education. I once was like so bitter because I missed out on my kids' lives. I hated myself for that. I didn't understand why I was still alive, just so I could miss everything. But in reality, I didn't miss it. God put me here because he wanted me to see it. And I had to see it from in here, and that hurts, but it's who I really am today. I am a good person, and I'm willing to tell my story to anybody, to help anybody. I'm not the person I used to be, but I just need a chance to show y'all.
Now you have 2 children, as I understand it. How old are your children?
Yes, 30 and 24. And I have a grandson now. He's a year old.
And have you maintained a relationship with your 2 children?
My oldest son, yes, and on the phone. They haven't been to visit me in a long time. My youngest son, I guess he's scared. He's scared he wants to see me come home and do right before he lets his heart back in it, and I'm gonna show him. My kids are my everything, and I know that I didn't show that by my past, behavior, but I want to fix it, or I want to make a better future. I want to rebuild a relationship with my kids, and I want to be a good grandmother to my grandson, and that's how I can show my son too.
What have you learned in your classes that are your triggers, that trigger you to go back to pain pills or cocaine, methamphetamines, whatever? What are your triggers?
Honestly, I'm my worst enemy. I am my own worst enemy, and whenever I am doing something to feel good about myself, I'm not triggered. But if I start slacking and make mistakes, or whenever I would get upset or hurt or anything, I use the excuse that it was okay to get high. And to be honest with you, it's because I wanted to get high. There didn't have to be a reason. And that's what I know.
What are you going to do now? Because those things are going to happen. Things aren't going to go right. Life's got a lot of curves they throw at you. It's as tough, if not tougher, out there than it was 11 years ago. So how are you going to deal with that?
Well, I'm going to call my sponsor immediately. And I'm going to use the techniques that I learned in all these programs. Okay. Like I said, once I've made my mind up to get it right, I got it right. And I know it might have taken me a little time to get there, but I got there.
Okay. Warden, can you is the warden still there?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Warden, can you tell us anything about Ms. Mayo?
No, I think she's actually done a great job of explaining, kind of when she finally found her traction, even though it wasn't very long ago, but, since 2020, she kind of just had that aha moment and, started to get on the right track. And we are very proud of her for her educational accomplishments. And, she's very proud of herself for making Dean's List. So.
Okay. So you can obviously see a big change in her between now and 2020, 2019, yes, when she got her last.
Yeah, actually I spoke with her last week, and she was scared knowing the disciplinary report number, but you look for the future, and I think she's done a great job, just once she's accepted it and trying to move forward.
Great. Thank you very much. Are there any,
Thank you.
See if there are any questions. It doesn't look like there are any panel questions. We have any speakers, Ms. Teresa?
Yes, sir. We have one. We have Miss Peggy Esposito, who's a mother.
Hello?
Yes, ma'am. We can hear you.
Okay.
If you'll just tell us what you'd like us to know about your daughter.
Well, all the law enforcement didn't know her prior to her drug use. She was a very good parent, super responsible. She was a dental assistant, had all her stuff together, self-supported. She was a single parent. And when she started the drugs, it got a hold of her and she was no longer her. It took me a long time to begin to start to trust her again, but we have faith that she's going to do well. she is gonna come stay with us. We have plenty of room for her. There's no need for her to even look for someplace else to live. I have a company. I'm almost 66. I'm hoping to retire or semi-retire when I turn 70. And she has expressed a great deal of want to learn the business. And I hope that, in the 3.5, 4 years, if y'all grant her parole, that she will be able to get to the point where I can step back and she could take the business over. And the business is very well supported in the community. Also, her brother lives, we have a property with several, a big piece of property. Her brother lives next door. Her dad's here with her full time. She's really excited about continuing to get her bachelor's degree, which I'm really proud of her. And with her working with me, she can I'll let her stop and go do her classes because they're online. You have to do them when they tell you. So I think she's just going to do good. I think she's going to go back to her old self. Her younger son is willing to give her a shot. And, she's got to earn her trust back. And she is all about that baby. That's all she wants to be, as part of that baby's life. And I think that is going to be the biggest thing for her, to have strength. And in weak moments, love of a baby can do a lot for you. She loves animals. We got a bunch of them for her to love on. So we have, she doesn't have to leave the house to do things. She can go walk around the property. We got a little pond. She can go fish to get a step away, but she can go swimming, and she can, just do stuff. We play a lot of games. We do a lot of home family stuff. And her sister's getting married this year, so she would love to be a part of that. So there's a lot of good, positive things that are going to help her, And her dad and her brother's here. If y'all want to talk to them, they'd be happy to speak to you.
Thank you, ma'am.
If you have any other questions, I'll be happy to answer them.
Any other speakers, Ms. Tracy?
No, sir.
Ms. Mayo, is there anything you'd like to say before the panel votes?
I think I've pretty much told y'all how I feel and where I'm at. And I have come to a point in my life that it just feels so much better to be a success. And I just need this chance to get out, and I will do my part.
Thank you very much. Is the panel ready to vote? Okay. Ms. Mayo, since your case was mine, I'll go first. When I read your report, obviously it doesn't look real good on paper. Your criminal history is horrible. Your supervision history is horrible. Your prison record, your disciplinary record is certainly bad. There obviously something has changed within you in the last year plus. You got your high set. You're starting to get your education. You're working hard. The warden clearly sees the difference and sees how far you've come. You have law enforcement opposition, and I can understand why they would oppose your release. Your risk assessment is moderate, and your health, your needs assessment is high. You need substance abuse. You seem to have at least a working knowledge of what your substance abuse problem is and perhaps how to deal with it. You've taken a lot of courses in the last year or so, all very good courses. you've turned a corner. And, you do have a release date of 2025 if you don't get your parole today. Having said all of those things and listened to this interview and listened to you talk, I'm willing to take a chance on you.
Okay.
My vote today, and I'm only one of three.
I know,
My-
but still,
My vote,
nobody
my
really
vote,
believed me.
my vote today would be to grant your parole with the
Okay.
following special
Thank you.
conditions. Number one, that you be on a curfew from 9 p.m. to 6 a.m., that you report weekly to your parole officer for the first 90 days, that you get a substance abuse evaluation, follow whatever recommendations there are, and that the program that you talked about going to, I'm going to require that you would do 90 meetings in 90 days, and thereafter 3 meetings per week, as well as random drug testing
Yes.
and full-time employment. So that would be my vote. I'm only one of 3, so we'll have
Thank
to
you.
wait and see what happens next. Ms. Jackson?
Hi, Ms. Mayo,
Hi.
you had a really good interview today.
Thank you.
Your interview overcame a lot of the obstacles that I had about you. I think you do have insight and understanding into your addiction and the harm you've caused. You've worked really hard over the last year to get yourself in a good place. I think you have a good transition plan. You have positive remarks from the warden. You don't have any express victim opposition. And in fact, the only victim that responded, one said they didn't recall the incident, and the other one said that they were in favor of second chances. You've been in jail 11 years on a 15-year sentence. I think that's a substantial amount of that sentence. And so my vote today would be to, I think that's a substantial amount of that sentence. And so my vote today would be to grant your parole with the same conditions as outlined by Mr. Marabella. Good luck to you.
Thank you, Ms.
so
Jackson.
much.
Mr. Wise?
At this time, I see you have a moderate risk. You have good programs, good family support, and positive comments from the staff. But one of the things you've done some good programs, but you have good family support. I see you have a mother there. And let me tell you something. Every gray hair she's got in her head, you probably put it in there.
I did.
Because you won't straighten up and act like a grown-up. You need to write
Yes,
down that word grown up 100 times and just say, I got to grow up for my family, if nothing else, and my loved one.
Okay.
But I'm going to tell you, you probably won't see me no more, but if you ever come back before the board before I leave, don't you want no favors. Today I'm voting to grant
Thank you.
with a condition.
Thank you,
to
Mr.
be
Wise. Ms. Mayo, you have 3 votes to grant your parole with the special conditions that we've outlined. Your parole today has been granted. Good luck to you.
Thank you.
I think that was the first time we've seen Jim Wise actually show some personality, sense of humor, something other than just, yeah, that was, I didn't know he had maybe a human side to him. Yeah, she definitely caused her mother a lot of gray hairs. That is for sure. And it is sad because narcotics does not discriminate. I have 2 things to share with you. One is, yeah, she does have just a long record. Richard put it in here, just reading from the notes: simple burglary, forgery, simple burglary again, another simple burglary, and forgery, simple burglary, credit card, unauthorized credit cards, simple burglary, theft, forgery, burglary, theft of 500 or more, burglary, schedule 2, burglary. But here's the news I have for you. She's been locked up again. If you can believe it. Maybe you're not surprised. That's just terrible. She spent all this time in prison. And so this hearing took place 1/31/2022. She got paroled. And the info I have here is that she was booked again on August 29, 2023. And I don't know why we don't have a revocation hearing. Maybe because I'm really not quite sure. But she's scheduled to be released February 28, 2024. So she just went right back to it. And I don't have any other information than just her record that states that she's locked up. And what can you say? It's hard to understand. How does someone spend all this time in prison? And I personally, and I don't believe I'm saying this just because now I know she's locked up, but I personally didn't get the warm and fuzzies over her parole hearing. I thought that she was honest, but it just kind of didn't feel, I don't know how to say it. Felt like she was trying real hard, but even when I was thinking that, I was watching, I was like, well, it's our parole hearing. Of course she's going to be. And, but either way, it's sad. What can you say? But with that, I'll let you go.